All right, welcome. It's Motivational Monday, May the 11th. I just went for a run, so my voice might feel a little raspy, but I'm very happy and I did it. So let me know how you feel, whether you're watching on the Facebook replay or with me live here on Zoom. Let me know in the chat box how you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10 or a word. And today we're going to talk about, is your mindfulness practice helping or hurting you? And the other thing is, are you even doing a mindfulness practice? Right? So we're going to kind of explore that today. There's some newish science that I wanted to share with everybody. As always, grab your glass of water. Because your brain needs water to think. And our check-in, what do we got in the chat box here? We've got a solid 3. Okay, I hope we can bring that up a little bit. And you know what? 3 is the best time to come to Motivational Monday or any of our classes. Brain fitness, fitness class, letting go of worry class. Because sometimes you come when you feel great and sometimes you come to be uplifted, right? We've got an 8 out of 10, an 8 out of 10, a feeling good, a 9 out of 10. I'm going to give myself a 9 out of 10 as well. We've got all different weather check-ins too. We've got 6 and a little tired. All right, so we're a real mixed bag here today. There we go. Okay. That's not the quote I wanted, so we're just going to skip that. So let's talk about mindfulness. Actually, first of all, I have a curious question. When you hear the word mindfulness, or when you think, what is my mindfulness practice? What do I do for mindfulness? I'm curious, what do you think, or what are you doing for your own personal mindfulness practice? Let me know in the chat. If you're watching the replay in the Facebook group, let me know in the chat too. Is it, and how often a week do you think maybe you're practicing it? Is it 5 minutes a week? Is it an hour a week? How often? We've got Letting Go Fridays. Me too. So Letting Go Fridays, if you're watching in the Facebook group, in the open Facebook group, the replay, Letting Go Fridays is a class that I run on Friday evenings. And it's a mindfulness and kind of group coaching and mindfulness class together, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it at the end of class today. We've got, thumbs up for Letting Go Fridays. Anybody consider sitting in nature mindfulness? Anybody think watching TV is mindfulness? I hope not. Yeah. I just went for a run and I consider that mindfulness. Does anybody practice quiet mindfulness, or has anybody at any time in their life practiced trying to quiet your mind? So maybe in like the 70s or 80s you learned that kind of meditation. We've got short meditations from an app or YouTube, Letting Go Fridays. All right, so let's talk about mindfulness, but first I want to talk about why we need it. Why do we need mindfulness? So I'm going to give you a little bit of science, a little bit of background here. So grab a snack if you need it. Has anybody ever heard this term dysregulated? I see some heads nodding. I see some heads nodding yes and some nodding no. So dysregulated can mean a few things, but it's a word for us to talk about our body, right? And so our body and our brain. So when you are feeling dysregulated, and we all feel dysregulated at one point or another, so it doesn't mean, it kind of sounds like a big scary word, but we can all get dysregulated at different times during the day or during the year or phases of life. So basically it means it's a state of impaired or improper control over body, emotional, or physiological symptoms. So instead of our body or our brain or our emotions or our mental health responding the way they're supposed to, a dysregulated system is usually a system that's in a state of high alert or shutdown. Or it can be in a state of intense, unmanageable reactions. You're just reacting to everything that are disproportionate to the situation. So we see this in moms. We see this in toxic workplaces. We see this in toxic relationships. We see this in a lot of places, right? You can let me know where else you might think, right? So it's not voluntary. When someone's dysregulated, they're not choosing to be that way. And we talk about a form of dysregulation or a sign of dysregulation in letting go class on Fridays is discharging. Discharging is when we can't control, but we let our energy out. So we might yell at someone, we might trip, our body might be out of balance, we might run into the door frame, we might cry in the middle of a grocery store, right? These are all signs of dysregulation, right? It's not voluntary, we're not choosing to do it, but our stress or our illness needs to come out, or even our traumas, big T traumas, little t traumas, okay? So there's different types of dysregulation. There's emotional dysregulation. That's when we can't manage our emotional responses to things. We might have intense outbursts on either end of the spectrum, anger or sadness. We might have high anxiety. We might have rapid mood swings that are hard to control. You may be listening to this and thinking, that's also symptoms of perimenopause and menopause, Victoria. True. We may have dysregulation in our hormones that are causing these things too, okay? We also have nervous system dysregulation, which is kind of similar to emotional because it's connected, right? So our autonomic nervous system, so that's the one that just thinks for us, okay? It's also our fight, flight, or freeze. We don't choose to be in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. It just happens automatically, right? So a dysregulated nervous system is when you're in a constant state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So if we're in fight or flight, we're in anxiety. If we're in freeze or fawn, we're in shutdown. Okay, so like the definition up here at the top of the screen, right? You can be in high alert or you can be in shutdown. Both of them are the fight, flight, freeze response, either shutdown or high alert, okay? And then there's physiological dysregulation. I'm not going to talk about that because that's things like if your blood sugar's off, your metabolism's impaired for some reason. These are things that like your doctor needs to work. Mindfulness can help them, but there's other things that you need to do as well. So really today I'm talking about emotional and nervous system dysregulation. Yeah, what we got in the chat? Oh, interesting. We've got in the chat, dreaming. Can dreaming be a sign of dysregulation? Dreaming can be a sign of like good regulation or dysregulation, whether it's like a nightmare or a really good processing aha moment. So that's an interesting question. Okay, so I want to talk about types of nervous system inputs. And we kind of talked a little bit about this morning in Brain Fitness for those of you that were there. We talked about our other senses. So we know our 5 senses, right? So that's usually what we think of when we talk about senses. So our 5 senses are actually called exteroception, which is sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. But we have other senses. So we have something called our interoception. So it's awareness of inside. Think about it, intero, right? Extero is how we're like navigating the world with touch and smell and taste, and extero is inside. So we're aware of our bodily sensations and feelings. So our heart rate, our anxiety, our breathing, our visceral organs, how they feel. Like you may feel pain. You might know you feel pain in your kidney, in your lower back, or know you feel pain, right? In your stomach, for example. Our temperature regulation, our ability to relax, or if we're stuck in tension, our sense of our body. I know my body in space. I know how my body feels. Or you ever just wake up and you go, I just feel off. I know that my gut's off, for example, or I just, right? That's your interoception. You might not be able to pinpoint what it is, but you know something is off, right? You're aware. Something doesn't feel right. And then the last one's proprioception, which is basically our balance. Okay, proprioception is our balance, our sensory and motor components. So proprioception is kind of like a 3D map of our body. It lives in our brain, and it's always working to keep us balanced or stable. Okay? So if any of these are off, we can become dysregulated. Our proprioception's off, dysregulated. Our nervous system's dysregulated. Our interoception's off, can cause dysregulation. Now, why do I want to talk about dysregulation and mindfulness? Here's the thing, everybody. Get ready for my soapbox moment of the day. Okay? Here's the thing. If this is your first time seeing me, if you're watching the Facebook and replay, I'm kind of like the anti-life coach, if you want to call me that. So here's the thing. Most programs out there, or a lot of wellness or mindfulness coaching out there, is actually harming us. And I'm going to tell you why. First, I'm going to give you a couple examples. Mindfulness can dysregulate us. Have you heard of toxic gratitude or toxic positivity? Toxic gratitude, we've talked about a bit before, is when we use the idea of gratitude to suppress our own feelings or somebody else's. So toxic gratitude can sound like this. I'm not feeling well today. I'm feeling a bit depressed, but I should be thankful because I have a roof over my house and I have over my head and I have food. So I have no right to feel this way. Or does anybody ever do this? I shouldn't feel this way. I should be happy all the time because there's people starving in other areas of the world, right? You know how people use that as a way to motivate themselves? That's toxic gratitude because you're using gratitude to suppress how you're actually feeling in the moment. And that is dysregulating your interoception, right? You're saying my emotions don't matter. Toxic positivity works similarly. We've got lots of thumbs up for that one. Yeah. We've got, oh my goodness, that's me. Yep. We've got thumbs up. Toxic positivity is similar in that, and it connects into this idea of manifesting, in that think positive thoughts only, positive vibes only. You have to be positive all the time, and then you'll attract positive things into your life, which is manifesting. But that's not real, right? That's not reality. And a lot of manifesting coach or positivity coaches, they use positivity in a way where we're suppressing our emotions again and not feeling them. So dysregulated interoception, dysregulated emotional responses, because we're avoiding and suppressing and repressing our emotions. We're supposed to feel them all. A lot of what happens in manifesting too is they'll be like, oh, think about the thing you want, think about the thing you want, think really positively. And then if you let one bad thought in, you have to start all over again and you've messed it up. And then you end up shaming yourself or guilting yourself. And it's your fault that you didn't manifest your dream life because you let one negative thought in, right? It's this idea that you have to be positive all the time for it to work. Or just simply overriding our feelings, right? When we're taught any of these techniques, or how about this? This comes from my original foundation was like the fitness world, right? When I first started like 25 years ago, I was a personal trainer. Just push through. And that happens a lot in fitness. But that attitude of pushing through, no excuses, also comes into coaching and our emotional wellness too. We'll just push through things. We're taught these things, right? We're taught these techniques without regulating. Wouldn't that be dishonest? We've got, yeah, like pushing through is dishonest. Overriding our feelings is dishonest. That's exactly right. Right? We're being dishonest with them. When we're taught these techniques without regulating, and regulating is a process. Like we have to reveal what it is. We name it. We understand it. We acknowledge we're feeling this way. Then we reconnect to ourselves. When we are taught these techniques through toxic gratitude, toxic positivity, manifesting, overriding our feelings, pushing through, we are actually learning to ignore the signals from our interoception and our exteroception and even our proprioception. We're teaching ourselves to ignore our nervous system. And that is essentially the definition of dysregulation, right? We ignore the signals that we need to regulate our nervous system, and our nervous system is also our emotions. So we're ignoring those things. We suppress and ignore, and that becomes our habit. And it becomes our way of being. And this often happens, when we are overworking, when we're in toxic workplaces, when we're in toxic relationships, when we think that it's all on our shoulders to please people, to be the one to make everybody else's life a better place, right? Is this all making sense? I see heads nodding, right? Any other examples? Yeah, never allowed a minute to look unsuccessful. I'm gonna say another example, just in general, and for all of us here are 40 and over on the call too, right? Just being a woman in the 80s, being a woman in the 90s, being a woman in the 70s, in the 60s, in the 50s, being a woman in the 2000s, even being a woman now, right? We are slowly learning that it's okay to be ourselves, but there's still that fear of not being judged as perfect, or not getting the promotion if we don't seem strong, or not getting what we want if we don't seem perfect, right? Yeah, we've got lots of yeses going on in the chat box. Yeah. So all of that, what I'm saying is there's lots of mindfulness programs out there that are actually perpetuating this stuff, that are perpetuating a disconnection from our nervous system. The ones that focus on positive vibes only, manifesting, pushing through, working harder without listening to ourselves. So common examples, using manifestation visualizing exercises, but you're using them as a band-aid and you're ignoring your anxiety, your burnout, or your freeze, or your shutdown. And I can tell you with honesty, I tried all of these things when I experienced my own burnout, and they didn't work. Right? When I had my burnout 12 years ago, where I was physically paralyzed, and I think I was probably in shutdown freeze mode for probably 12 months straight, to be honest with you, before I was paralyzed. I tried all these things because all these things kept showing up on my social media or on my feed that are like, here's the magic thing, manifest this, your life will be better. Do this type of mindfulness, your life will be better, right? It'll help with all the burnout, but it doesn't if we ignore the anxiety, the burnout, or the freeze, if we ignore the nervous system. Just staying positive when your body is communicating needs to set boundaries and stand up for yourself, right? We talk a lot about boundaries in our membership, and how we can stand up for ourselves with grace, or with the right words, or without anger. How we can stand up for ourselves and use our voice with confidence, right? So how often in your life have you thought, okay, if I stand up for myself, that's going to come off negatively, so I'm not going to do it. But something in your emotional health or your nervous system is telling you that you need to set a boundary and say no. But instead you go to the people-pleasing habit instead. Thumbs up, hands up, right? You've probably done that at some point in your life. Using affirmations improperly. So, when your body is actively in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, that means that you're in a heightened, your nervous system's heightened. And if you just start to say to yourself, which this is a big one, I got this advice a lot again during my burnout. Just say to yourself, I am safe. Or just say to yourself, I am calm. But what are you doing there? You're actually ignoring the threat. You're ignoring the feeling of the threat. And we talk a lot about how our words matter, right? How we talk to ourselves matter. And when you say to yourself, I am safe, but you physically don't feel safe because you have adrenaline running through your body, just saying I am safe isn't going to help. It's, again, a form of pushing down and avoiding, and it's keeping you dysregulated. There are ways to do affirmations properly where the brain will listen, but saying I am safe, or the opposite of how you actually feel, without doing something to dissipate how you feel, actually perpetuates it. This is a good question, using even if. If it works for you, great. Say, I am safe even if. Yes, it could work. It could work. But the better way for affirmations is, as most of you know, is saying, I'm choosing to believe that. But before we even get to the affirmation, we have to acknowledge what our nervous system's doing. And often the advice that's given is, oh, if you just feel anxiety, say I'm safe. But we're not using our interoception or exteroception at all. There's a couple steps before we even get to doing the affirmation. Using gratitude, that is... Sorry, I don't know what just happened with my microphone. So again, that is toxic gratitude, toxic positivity, using gratitude practices to override or ignore. So it's the same thing as, I'm feeling really burnt out. I'm really exhausted. My body is telling me I need to rest, but I should just push through because there are people that aren't as privileged as me and don't have a job. Right? You're allowed to feel your feelings. You're supposed to feel them all. And we shouldn't really compare our human experience to other people's human experiences in a way that's going to shame ourselves. And using growth mindset. How often have you heard this term, growth mindset? Let's create a growth mindset framework, right? That, again, encourages you to push through fatigue, push through burnout, or push through pain. So you're listening to those kind of really, those motivational, maybe meditations that are really like push through, or it's okay to suffer. You have more limits than you don't have any limits, push through, right? But again, that's not listening to your nervous system. What's going on? So these types of mindfulness or mindset practices result in you don't develop self-regulation. You don't even have a capacity for self-regulation. And maybe you did before and then you suffered burnout or switched jobs or something happened. Maybe a family member got sick. Maybe you became a caregiver, right? And when we start to use these sorts of things, our capacity for self-regulation shrinks. We also develop the ability to disassociate as a coping mechanism. When we're because ultimately those types of mindfulness or mindset things are telling us to disassociate. Push down your emotions, ignore them, put them in a box, right? And that's coping. And there's a difference between coping and choosing. When we do these types of mindfulness or mindset practices, the brain and the nervous system start shouting louder at each other. So they start fighting with each other. They're not working together. They're working against each other. Your brain and your nervous system are essentially gaslighting themselves. It's called cortical gaslighting. So you're essentially gaslighting yourself. So I'm going to give you an example to kind of give you, I like a little example. It's better. It's kind of like this. All right. You have a supervisor or boss. It's your brain. Okay. And that supervisor or boss doesn't listen to frontline employees that are reporting urgent problems and just says everything's fine. So imagine you're an employee, or you can probably actually think of a time in your life maybe where you went to a supervisor or boss and you said this needs to be addressed and it doesn't get addressed, right? Or a leader in your community, maybe a leader in your church and it doesn't get addressed, or a boss at work and it doesn't get addressed, right? And they just say, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just think more positively about it. You're told that your urgent reports are actually negative and they're actually harming the community or harming the workplace. They're harming the environment. So you need to change without addressing the actual problem, right? So imagine if you're doing affirmations or you're doing mindfulness and your conscious brain is saying everything's fine, even though your body, which is the employees, are coming and saying there's some urgent things we need to address, and you're going, no, everything's fine, right? What your nervous system or the employees have to say is valuable and real information from the ground level. But the top levels, so the CEOs or the bosses or the supervisors, right, are essentially gaslighting your nervous system. They're essentially gaslighting the employees and insisting that their reports aren't valid or aren't real and that it's their own fault that they think it's urgent. That is the definition of gaslighting, right, everybody? So sometimes when we practice these types of mindfulness, our brain is gaslighting our nervous system. So a couple studies. There are adverse reactions to mindfulness if we don't do mindfulness in a way that works for us based on the state we're in, okay? So in the past 8 years, there's actually been a surge of scientific research in this area. And they are showing that if we are doing these types of mindfulness practices or the types of mindfulness practices where we are just trying to be quiet and calm our mind, but we're in a state of dysregulation. So it's like ancient meditation versus modern meditation. Ancient meditation comes from Buddhism, where we are learning how to calm our mind, right? But that takes a lot of skill and a lot of guide, and you can't even begin to start doing that kind of meditation if you're dysregulated. And so this push for that quiet type of meditation, just listening to your breath or focusing on the point of your nose for an hour, is actually perpetuating anxiety, worry, self-doubt, and depression. And also the same with the toxic gratitude, the manifesting, all of these sorts of things. Oh yeah, here's another great example. Working in politics. Yep, that would definitely be a place where you could get dysregulated. Okay, so a 2022 study that used a sample of almost 1,000 people had them silently meditate. So the type where you just focus on the tip of your nose for an hour. And 10% of the participants experienced adverse effects in their everyday life that lasted for at least a month after they were asked to meditate. Okay, so we're talking self-doubt, worry, discharging, dysregulation. And then there was another review in 2020 that reviewed about 40 years of research that said that the most common effects from this type of mindfulness are anxiety and depression. And most people are prescribed mindfulness when they have depression and anxiety already, but they're not. The resources aren't out there, or coaching out there, or the doctors who are telling them to practice mindfulness aren't giving them the guidelines for what kind of mindfulness will work for them. Okay? And then we also have the self-verification theory, and that is the theory that your brain will fight back. Right? So if you start saying, I am strong, but you have a belief system in the back of your brain that doesn't believe that you're strong, you will just talk back and say, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. So people that already have low self-esteem and are picking up a mindfulness practice to try and improve confidence and self-esteem, it can actually perpetuate it because your belief systems need to be rewired first, or else they're just going to fight back the whole time. And this is also the theory that is connected to repeating patterns in our life. So we look for beliefs, relationships, and situations and experiences that match how we already see ourselves. Even if that self-view isn't very kind to ourselves. So if we believe that we're unworthy or we have low self-esteem, we will find ourselves in relationships and situations and experiences that reflect that. Why? Because the brain likes things to be familiar. That's the brain's way of keeping life predictable and consistent. If I've always been in these types of relationships, I'm always going to stay in these types of relationships, not because they're good for me, but just because they're familiar, and I prefer familiar to the unknown. The brain just prefers familiar to the unknown over what's actually healthy or good for us. Okay. So my main message here today is, everybody, is when we try to override our neurobiological limits, when we try to push through, when we try to suck it up, and when we choose mindfulness practices that don't get to the root of our dysregulation, when we're choosing them as a way to avoid or band-aid or push through or suppress or repress, we miss opportunities to acknowledge what truly needs to change in our lives. And we're actually missing opportunities to truly heal, right? So remember, we've got our internal, our nervous system work, and we've got our that affects our external, our relationships, the environments we're in, even the environment within your home, right? The environments at work, or maybe communities you're in, like church communities or community centers or clubs, right? When we use mindfulness with a dysregulated nervous system that isn't designed for a dysregulated nervous system, we lose the opportunities to heal. So let me say it in a different way. When we block our interceptive signals, we make decisions and we take actions that are disconnected from our actual physiological and emotional needs. We lose agency over ourselves. And that's when discharging comes in, right? We might yell at someone or snap at someone, and then we feel guilty later. Our physical body might be out of balance. We might trip and hurt ourselves. We lose agency over ourselves. So, what type of mindfulness works? You want to look for mindfulness programs or mindfulness, we can call them snacks or mindfulness breaks, right? That are using neuroeducation. Neuroeducation strengthens from the top down regulation of this is the definition of neuroeducation, okay? These aren't my words, so I'm just going to read it. Strengthens the top-down regulation of the insula, which is the cerebral cortex, enhancing interoceptive awareness while improving nervous system capacity to accurately interpret and respond to bodily signals. That comes from a study. I've noted it right there, okay? That is one of the newer studies talking about this stuff. Basically, what we're looking to do, what neuroeducation helps, it reduces the survival brain reactivity, while strengthening the down-regulating connection between the cortex and the amygdala. The amygdala is where fight, flight, or freeze lives, okay? That means neuroeducation helps the brain and the body come into balance rather than shouting or fighting with each other. So neuroeducation means basically helping you to regulate, helping you to get out of that dysregulation. And I know that it can sound really big, like I need a neuroscientist to do this. It's not. It's super easy. There are so many things, so many tools and tricks that I wish that I had known when I was dysregulated and that I use now when I become dysregulated that are proven, such as the brain fitness moves that we learn in brain fitness class. We've got same in the chat box, right? So you want to look for mindfulness strategies and programs that have neuroeducation built in. I call it brain fitness, I think, but it's neuroeducation. Brain fitness just sounds a little bit easier, right? Like when we hear neuroeducation, we think, oh my gosh, I need like massive, like a doctor or a neuroscientist, right? Here's the thing. Programs, we want them to not, okay? If they're promoting, forcing, or pushing through stress, that's not the right program. If they are encouraging, suppressing emotions or thoughts, that's not a good mindfulness program. If they are encouraging you to be silent when you haven't regulated yourself first, if they're encouraging you to go into deep meditations or deep visualizations when you haven't regulated first, you need to regulate first, okay? They don't have strategies to help the body and brain to work together from top and bottom and bottom to top to bring you back into regulation. You want programs that have strategies that help your body and brain work together. Okay, so a couple examples. Brain fitness class that I teach every Monday, and I think there's almost 300 brain fitness class replays now available online inside our membership. Brain fitness is gentle but complex movements that have been designed by neuroscientists, but they're so easy, like tapping or moving from one side to the other, crossing your midline. They're proven to connect and regulate the nervous system instantly within 60 seconds. Guided meditations and visualizations that are short and that are specific instead of quiet meditations. okay, that are short and that are specific and that do not involve manifesting or thinking positively. Okay, so there could be a guided meditation or visualization that talks about your feelings and works you through your feelings and uses breath to do that, and then also uses imagination to work through it and actually connect into your subconscious brain. So again, on Letting Go class on Friday, that's what we do. The visualizations, after we've had about a 20-minute talk about it, so we educate first and then we go into our visualization, are very creative and imaginative, and you're visualizing trees blooming or different things, and they're specifically designed using words and using imagination that talks to your subconscious brain. That's rewiring. Okay. And we want programs that have realistic encouragement based on realistic human experiences and life. If you are getting advice out there to just push through, or that's really not realistic, or that's saying you should never feel sad or never feel angry or never feel grief or everything happens for a reason or just get over it, that's not realistic. We need to have spaces, and I am going to use the word safe here, right? In the right way. We need to have spaces, whether they're online on Zoom calls like this, whether they're in person, whether it's with a friend, but we need to have spaces in our life where we can feel safe to be ourselves if we are feeling angry, if we are feeling sad, if we are feeling vulnerable, where we can go to where we aren't scared of being judged, where we aren't scared of being seen as whatever our worst fear is, weak, right? So having a best friend where you can go and just say whatever's on your mind and know that they're not going to judge you, know that they're going to listen, right? Having a community that do that, right? All of those things. So those are the things that you want to look for. And if you have never, we've got a lot of Club Recreo members already on the line, but if you're watching the replay inside the Facebook group or come to any of my master classes, Club Recreo, everything that I do inside Club Recreo, which is my online membership that has 6 classes a week, we follow the Recreo method. So this is the method this is what I say by neuroeducation. Programs that are coaching or you're going to classes, they should follow something similar to this. And this is why my business is called Recreo. There's 2 reasons. Recreo is a Latin word for regenerate, revive, refresh. And this is the process that you should go through in your mindfulness practice. And I don't even know if we want to call it a mindfulness practice, just your wellness practice, because mindfulness is part of it. Your physical body's part of it. First, you want to regulate your nervous system. You want to regulate your nervous system and stabilize your brain. Then you want to educate. You don't educate first, because if you're dysregulated, your brain's going, and you can't process what's being taught to you. So first you want to regulate, then you want to educate, understand what's happening. It's knowledge of yourself. Then you can start to get clear. Then you can start to reduce the mental clutter, the brain fog, the physical clutter, you stretch more, you move more. Then you start to rewire, right? You clear space so that you can bring something new in. And that's the rewiring. That's the neuroplasticity. That's rewiring your habits around stress, or rewiring your biomechanics, or rewiring your relationships. But it's all happening in your subconscious brain. And ultimately what's going to come out of that is more energy. You're going to feel energized, and you're going to own it. You're going to own it. You're going to be unapologetically yourself, right? And that's the process that we use in Club Recreo. There's 6 classes a week, and they're designed to do that. We have brain fitness class on Monday. So regulating ourselves on Monday, educating ourselves on Monday. Then we have our movement classes on Tuesday and Wednesday, our fitness in 15, our Simply Strength. We are tapping into ourselves. We're starting to clear. We're moving physically. Then we've got our letting go of worry. And that's where we clear our space And we start to rewire with that visualization on Fridays. And on top of that, we also have a nature club, and we also have a certified holistic nutritionist that works with us too, because we can fuel our body in that way too. So if anybody is interested in joining Club Recreo, you can try it out. It's $47 a month. There's no commitment. You can cancel anytime, $47 Canadian. All you got to do is go to myrecreo.health. Get into a program that is going to actually help you create change in your life in real ways. All right, there was a question about affirmations too, and I thought I had this slide here. If you want to do an affirmation, one of the best ways is to say, I'm choosing to believe that first, not I am, because then your brain can't fight back. That self-verification can't fight back because you're saying, I'm choosing a different belief. And that self-verification theory is your beliefs fighting back. Your beliefs can't go, no, you can't, because you're going, I'm choosing this. All right? Okay, so what did we learn today? We've got some great comments in the chat box. We've got Mondays set me up for a great week, and Fridays always set me up for a great weekend. So that brain fitness class on Monday and that letting go class on Friday. I agree. 100% will make your life better. I promise in the chat. Thank you to all my members on the call. We've got this looks great. All right. What did we learn today? We always learn why water is important. So if you want to talk about dysregulation, even if your brain is 1% dehydrated, you start to lose cognitive function. That's dysregulation. So keeping your brain hydrated is a really easy tool to keep yourself regulated, period. Okay? So we learned about dysregulation of emotions and dysregulation of the nervous system. We learned that not all mindfulness is equal, and you have to find the mindfulness that works for you. And we have this kind of idea that all mindfulness is good no matter what it is. You have to find the mindfulness that's good for you. And if you are in a dysregulated state, you have to start with neuroregulation as your mindfulness practice. And then we talked about what types of programs can regulate, why you need them. We actually learned a lot today. Why you need them. And I hope I gave you a bit of motivation because I threw in a little bit of pep talks there too, right? Maybe you had some aha moments. So let me know how you're feeling now in that chat box. Did you learn anything? Did you think about anything? Or maybe you are feeling like seen or heard when I was talking about certain things, like when I was in my workplace, it was like this. Or maybe you're going, yeah, that's what was happening to me in the past. I was burnout. Or maybe you're going, yes, that's what's happening to me now. And I realize I need to regulate first. Regulate, educate, clear, rewire, and then you get your energies, and then you get to own it. You get to be yourself. That's the Recreo way. Okay, let me know how you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, everybody. We've got interesting class. I learned a lot. We've just got thank you with some emojis. Or maybe you're feeling like I'm really proud of myself because I'm doing a lot of this work already. And I know that a lot of you are, right? And maybe you're going, yeah, I'm on the right track. And this is very validating for me to know that I'm on the right track. Right? We've got them 5 now. That makes me good. Up 2 points, 3 to 5. That makes me really happy. We've got, I'm feeling like a 9 now. You can throw some heart emojis in there. We've got thumbs up, all the things. If you're watching the replay in the Facebook group, please comment in the chat. Let me know. Yeah, feeling confirmed. I love that. Confirmed and validated. Yeah, if you're watching in the replay, let me know what you're thinking too. I love watching the comments in the Facebook group and the replay. We've got, yeah, my brain is trusting me from what I'm learning. That's so powerful, isn't it? That means you're in a regulated state. The brain isn't ignoring the nervous system. That's so powerful. All right. See you later in the Facebook group. I hope to see some comments underneath this one.